every customer I'm talking to at the moment, every client that we work with is going through an element of transformation, growth, maybe acquisition, maybe merger, but change. So I think that executives, especially right now, play such a critical role in shaping the employer brand. So actually co-creating it, but importantly, then trickling that down into how that turns into action. So I think for me,
Yes.
their role is building trust in the messages, and the only way that they can do that is kind of be that bridge, that the bridge the gap from mission to action. I kind of had to think about three different areas I think that they need to be playing active roles in. So the first, which I've mentioned, is that co-creation. So how are they shaping the employer brand with their workforce, but actually also where is it going? So where's the
Yes.
future, and where is it heading? So not just where it has been or is right now. I think then it's on them. They have to play a role in embedding that through authentic storytelling. So Steve, you touched on that as well, but leaders have a role to bring that brand to life by sharing their own perspectives, but then they really need to empower others to share their perspectives too and give permission to the rest of the workforce to share their stories. Something which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't happen. And then lastly, it's that consistency across channels. So leaders need to commit and really ensure that the purpose and the values are being lived through multiple touch points. So that's hiring messages, onboarding experiences, through to internal communications, recognition programs. But I think it's that alignment that again can really build trust. So
Yeah.
those would kind of be the three areas that
Yep.
we're
Yep.
continuing to talk to
Thank
people.
you. Terrific. As Charlotte, what's your thoughts on this? Is it one in, all in, or like, if we can get one, engaged and in the process, or it should be all in, it's not a question of like who wants to get involved. What's your thoughts around that? Like,
Yeah, totally agree.
or
I
is it
love
only getting people on that are actually going to be good at doing this type of thing? What's your thoughts? Should everyone be involved?
Yeah, I love what you just said, Emily, around co-creation. I think making sure that not just the CEO, but that senior leadership are taken on the journey when you're creating the employer brand. But I think, yeah, the last 5 years have been crazy in terms of the changes that are happening in organizations year on year. So it's so important that they're constantly looking at that kind of reflection window. And I think building that in even annually as part of their strategy is so important,
Hmm.
just to have a look back at, is our employer brand still actually telling that right narrative? And I think just having the bravery to kind of actually then act on that. So it's not necessarily a really expensive exercise of redoing your whole employer brand every year. It could just be some simple perception surveys to see, okay, are we landing in the right way versus where we want to be moving forwards? It's just a few tweaks to messages that we're
Yes.
putting out constantly. So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
having that built into their strategy is super important.
Important. Now,
I have a
Mike,
thought here as well. But
Anita,
sorry, if I may
go
add
ahead.
that this co-creation, what came to my mind as well, which I would give here as a tagline, like the competition between the leaders. And I use it very often because there are always one or two who are more eager because they are driven by a business pressure, or they are like by nature, they are more driving actions. And what, like, you give them a little bit of space, and then the others also get competitive on the way to see how the other business unit or the other area within the organization
They
is
do. They
working. So
do.
I
Yeah.
think the co-creation and competition helps as well.
Now, Stephen, unfortunately, a lot of companies, the executive don't even know what we're talking about when we talk about the employer brand. So how do we educate them? Like, what's the message? Or are you finding that, in a lot more companies these days, they do understand what we are talking about and they are really serious about getting involved and getting behind the organization and embedding, the strategy in the org strategy? What's your thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, I think for the group here assembled, we've got probably 150 years experience in the space and maybe more. And 20 years ago, I think it was a struggle. Today, I think it's still a struggle in some ways. Understanding the business case behind what we do and why we do it, in terms of attracting talent and keeping talent. But I think it's better than it was, Brett, certainly. Again, I come back to, I'm a disruptor by nature. And I think, organizations, when they build employer brands, they can do it better, faster, using technology, but they still have to include their purpose. They have to have their vision. It should be baked into what they do. But it then comes into, the activation. How do you bring it to life in a meaningful way across regions and talent segments? And for me, the art of what we do, right? Because it's art and science, the art of the employer brand development and creativity and articulation hasn't changed, but the science of it has. And the ways in which we capture, information and use technology to get us there faster and to activate and distribute it across, audiences has fundamentally changed. And I think CEOs are smart, particularly when we start adding those two letters AI into it. They start saying, "Oh, get me some AI." That's a famous quote I've had. A CEO actually once said to me, "Go get me some AI." And I said,
Yeah.
"Right." But to keep my answer short enough for you, just to get to the heart of the crux of it, I think we're in a moment of time where we can do some amazing things. And we're starting to see speed to market, impact across the entire talent value chain, and the ability to really adapt in real time.